Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of A Gardener's Journey Homestead. I'm in my sunroom today, so I want to invite you in. And today I'm going to do an end of summer recap. I thought it was fitting. This is going to air on the last day of September. I've been meaning to try to get this done, but I'm like, before it switches over to October, let me at least end the summer with a recap and talk about how things went. I did this last year. And I thought it was really helpful for me. And I think it was also, I think it's good to hear kind of what other people went through and what their ahas were. And so I thought I would do it again. So in this video, I'm going to talk about what I grew, what went really well, what I like and what I know for a fact I'm going to grow again, and what things didn't go well and that I'm not going to grow again, or maybe we'll take a different approach or things like that. So this will be a good reference for me, next spring as I'm planning out the summer garden and buying seeds and all that. But I also thought it'd be good and helpful for you to not just hear my story, but also to cause you to reflect and think about how your summer went. I think a lot of times we can be so busy that we don't pause and really reflect on what went good, what went bad, and to celebrate our successes and our wins, number one, but also to remember in the moment, what things didn't go well, so that when it's time for the next time, we don't forget or we don't automatically go buy some more seeds of something. You're like, why did I do that? That's not what I wanted to do, or that didn't really go well. And not just because something didn't go well one time, we want to just nix it. Sometimes you do. But another time it may be, let me try a different seed, or let me plant in a different place. But all of those are lessons. And so one of the things that I try to do is take notes on my phone during the summer. And I do it on my phone because that's what I always have with me in the garden. I'm not one that takes like a notebook out there. I mean, I want to be that person, but I'm not. So realistically, I always have my phone out there with me. So if I see something, I'll take a quick note. If there's something that I'm like, I want to try different, I try to take notes. So I try to do that. And it's good for me at the end of each season to kind of go back and think about what went well and what didn't, because I'm planting such a large space that I may forget, right? So if you're brand new here, thank you so much for stopping by today. If this is your first video, I am in zone 7A. I'm in the state of Tennessee. And so we grow here on our farm, and we have 3 primary growing spaces. We have 5 raised beds in the back of our house, which is where our garden started. We also have a high tunnel that's 30 by 96. And in that high tunnel, we have 6 raised beds, and the rest we plant in ground. We have 5 45-foot rows in that tunnel. And then we also have an outdoor in-ground growing space that's 4,000 square feet. And so we have 700-foot rows in that space. So we have a lot of spaces that we're growing in, and so a lot of food. And so as the garden keeps expanding, it's really even more important that I keep good notes, good memory, good reflection of what went well and what didn't, so I can be efficient with my time and with my dollars and all that. So let's jump into it. So I thought the easiest way, because it was hard for me to try to remember and jot down all the little stuff, and I have notes kind of, parsed in my phone, but I went back to my original list of what I started seeds on and what I planted. And so I broke that down into herbs, flowers, peppers, tomatoes, and then miscellaneous produce. So I'm just gonna kind of go in that order. That was the easiest way, because I have everything that I planted, that I started seeds on, I have it written down. And if you've been following me, then you saw when I did my summer planning, I did a video on how I did this, what I was starting seeds, how many plants I ended up with, like the whole 9 yards. So you may start, X number of seeds, but all those seeds don't germinate, right? So this past summer, I primarily started my own seeds. I ended up with over 500 plants of my own that I started from seed that's in my garden. So I would say my garden was 90 to 95% primarily started by me. I did buy some supplements, plant starts, because one crop that I forgot to start seeds on in the beginning was jalapenos, and that's like a staple around here. And so I ended up buying some jalapeno plant starts to begin the summer, and then I did start some, and we have another succession of jalapenos actually still going on right now. But about 95% of my garden was started with seeds. So I had like over 500 plants. It was a crazy time in my house, but I loved it. So let's just kind of start from the top, which is herbs. So the primary herbs that I grew this year were basil, sage, oregano, and thyme and mint. And so mint I've been doing for the past couple of years. I still have the same mint plant. Plus I started a lot of other mint plants as well. It went great, no issues there. I gave away a lot of mint. I had a lot of basil. I did like 30 plants of basil. I had lemon, I had Genovese, and I had cardinal. And so my summary on the basil is that I had plenty, which is what I wanted because I wanted to interplant with my tomatoes. I wanted to interplant with my peppers. So I had plenty of basil and I gave plenty of it away. So there was no shortage on basil. It germinated well. I had plenty in my garden and I never had to buy basil from the store in terms of a plant start. So that was great. The cardinal basil is one that is green and has like the purple flowers. The purple flowers come on later, but it's really pretty. But in terms of the taste, it has more of a spicy bite to it. And so I did not like it as much from a taste perspective when I made my pesto. And so I'm not going to do as much because I think on my list, I had like 10 cardinal basil plants. If I do that many, it'll be just for decor, like for flower arrangements and for beauty in the garden. But I'm not going to rely on that for my pesto. And that's what ended up happening, is that by the time I made pesto, that's the basil that was in really good shape and was in abundance. And so I liked it, but I don't love it. So the Genovese basil was a new one to me also. It did extremely well. The lemon basil did not do as well. I'm still gonna try that again next year. And I'm gonna try probably a sweet Italian basil, something, because I can't remember what I did last year. It might have been sweet Italian. It made the best pesto. So I'm gonna incorporate more of that next year. The sage it did okay. It didn't do wonderful, but that wasn't a big deal to me. And then the Thai basil, I didn't use any of it, but it sure got big and pretty. So I gotta figure out what I can use my Thai basil for, because I've grown it for the past 2 summers, but I've never used it. It's just in the garden for beauty and for pollinators. So if you got some tips on Thai basil, let me know. But that went well. So in the herb category, the oregano, I started from seed, did fine. I need a dedicated, because I have my oregano in a couple of pots. I want a dedicated space for the things that kind of grow invasively, like the mint and the oregano. Instead of in a pot, I would like just a bed, like I'm thinking about getting like a small metal raised bed to put in my tunnel to kind of house the mint and the oregano so that they have more space that's not in a pot. But we'll see how that goes. So on the herbs category, I feel like that went well, not any major changes. Now when it comes to flowers, I did a lot of flowers, and one, because I love flowers myself, and so I use the flowers for flower arrangements in my house, but obviously I also use them in the garden as pollinators and to provide beauty. So I did marigolds, I did Rebecca, I did aster, I did a ton of sunflowers, and I did a ton of zinnias. So let me kind of tell you the ones that and I did some nasturtiums. Now, I'll tell you, and I've said this before, I'm not a huge fan of nasturtiums. I'm just not. They are they grow pretty and wild, but the flowers are not just present. They're there, but you kind of have to, they're green and the flowers under, if that makes sense. If you grow nasturtiums, you know what I mean? Like, they're not just a flower. Like, you kind of have to look for them sometimes. But they're great for the garden, so that's why I grow them. But I don't bring them in my house. I don't use them for flower arrangements. They're just okay to me. But I only grow them because I know they're good for the garden. But they're not like my personal fan favorite. I also did the Kilimanjaro marigold, which I did last summer, which I loved. This summer I did more of it, but it got really big and wild, and I did not like that. Like, it was like, in the first summer I did it, it wasn't that way. So I don't know what happened. So I'm definitely not, I did a lot of that. I'm not going to plant as much of that next year. I may do like 1 or 2. And I'm going to get more into the brighter oranges of the marigolds and things like that. I did a lot of marigolds because I did not want to buy any from the store. And so that was a win. I did not have to buy any marigolds from the store, which the previous summer I did because I needed enough to interplant between my tomatoes and all that. So I actually grew enough of my own. And so we'll keep with the numbers that we grew, but I won't do as many of the white Kilimanjaro. My sunflowers did great. I did a whole mix of different types of sunflowers. Overall, they did great. They did not do as great in the in-ground garden. I think just because we had a huge heat wave, some of them burned up. Again, I had them on succession, so it wasn't that big of a deal. I just put more in the ground, and they did fine. No issues there. The celosia got really wild, like really big and wild, which is fine for the outside garden. But in my tunnel in the raised bed, I had a raised bed full of flowers that I call my pollinator patch. It got really wild. And when I bring it in for flower arrangements, it sheds is not the right word, but it drops the seeds all over the place. So it's really messy. So I don't like that. Although it's a pretty flower and a flower arrangement, again, when you bring it to your house, all those little seeds and buds are everywhere. So that's like a toss-up because I like the flower, but I don't like the mess that it brings. But I'll still do celosia because it's pretty in the garden and all of that. And zinnias is one of my favorites, always a tried and true. Zinnias did fine. The one color that I did new this year, I think, was El Dorado and Salmon Rose. Absolutely beautiful. Salmon Rose and El Dorado will definitely be in the garden from here on out. It's like this pretty pink color, absolutely beautiful. And they're still out there going strong at the end of September. So that's it on the flowers. I did some aster for the first time. It was a salmon aster. It was really pretty. I did like that, and so I will do that again. My Rebecca did not do as well this year. It didn't germinate as well as it did in years past. And just overall, the flower just didn't look as vibrant, and I didn't have as many. So that was kind of a bummer, but I like Rebecca, which is the Black Eyed Susan. I will do more of those and just hope for, better turnout next year. Okay. So we talked about the herbs, we talked about the flowers. Now let's get into the peppers. So I did a lot of peppers this summer. So I did sweet bonnet, which was a new one to me. And so it was supposed to be like a Scotch bonnet without the heat. Now I made a mistake, and I've never done this. And I've heard of people doing this, but I've never done it, but I've never had an issue until this summer. In one place that I planted the sweet bonnet, it was in a bed in my tunnel, and it had some spicy peppers in there as well. And so the sweet bonnet actually took on a spicy note, and I think it's because it cross-pollinated. I've never separated my peppers. I don't know. Yeah, it's never happened before. And I've never purposely separated, but next year I will be more intentional about putting my spicy peppers on one row and my sweet peppers on another row, or kind of keeping them apart. It's never burned me, but this time, I wouldn't say it burned me. It was just a surprise. So I did the sweet bonnet. I'm gonna do that again next year and try it again. I did the ahi mango. Y'all, when I say prolific, that thing is prolific, and it was just okay to me. Like the taste was just okay. So I had 12 of those plants. I promise you I won't do that many next year. I still have them, they're just hanging off the vine. I have given them away. I have frozen them. If you want something prolific and you think you'll it's like a spicy citrus, somewhere in that mix. It was just okay to me. But it's the ahi mango. I may not even do it next year. If I do it, I'll do a couple because, it's good peppers to give away. And I'll see if I didn't sell any, but we'll try again next year. But I won't nearly do that much. They were very prolific. I also did the Sugar Rush Peach Pepper. It also was very prolific, and it's good. I don't love it. It's somewhere between like and love. It was okay. Better than the ahi mango, but it's not something that I love. It was very prolific. Now I have a ton in my freezer. I'm gonna try to make a hot sauce with it and see how it tastes in that. I put it in some food. I mean, it gives a nice little kick. It wasn't anything that was just oh my goodness, it was just, it's a nice pepper to have. It's versatile, I guess, to add something to your dishes. So And I had a lot of those. They were very prolific. I won't do as many next year at all, unless I make this hot sauce and find out like, oh, it makes a really good hot sauce. So let me know if you had Sugar Rush Peach and what you thought about the taste, and if you loved it and how you used it, because maybe I need to try something different. Okay, the other pepper that I grew that was new was the Ajvarsky, which is a roasting red pepper. I just use like regular bell peppers, but you can roast it, take the pepper out, and then make like a red pepper cream sauce. I did not do that, but I saw a video on that from somebody that uses this pepper that I'm definitely gonna try next year. I still have them coming out of the garden. It was very, very prolific. It did really well. No disease whatsoever. Great pepper. We'll definitely do it again next year. I still have tons of them in the greenhouse. They're green right now. They're not all turning red. I don't know that they will. And of course, y'all know I like it red versus green. But if you've never tried the Ajvarsky, definitely put that on your list for next year. It's, like I said, it's a long, slender red pepper, extremely prolific, no disease whatsoever, grows extremely well. I had it in the outside garden and I had it in the tunnel. Both did fantastic. It will be on the list from here on out. I did shishito peppers. Y'all, I had way too many of those. If I do plants next shishito, I may do 2 plants and that's it. I did sell some, and I ate a few, but we don't eat nearly as many as I grew. And because really the only way that I prepare them is to like grill them in a cast iron skillet, and then you can serve them with like this garlic aioli sauce. I had made the garlic aioli sauce. I just kind of grilled them and added them to some dishes. It was fine. I'm sure the aioli sauce will take it up a notch. I just haven't done it. But I don't need that many. So I had 10 plants. The most I will have is 2 next year, if I do it at all, okay? Then the other new thing that I tried was I did some greenhouse variety bell peppers that were specifically for the greenhouse. So they're to withstand high heat and high humidity. That is what you get in a greenhouse. So I did the Bracanto, the Sprinter, and the Milena. Bracanto is yellow, Sprinter is red, Milena is orange. I will do them again. The ones that produced the most were definitely the red and the orange, which was the Milena and the Bracanto. These bell peppers were huge. No disease. This is a hybrid. So of course, with a hybrid, you have less disease, you have great production. It did all the things. Bell peppers were beautiful, okay? Now, in terms of production, I mean, it did great, but more, I mean, to me, it was very similar in production than my other peppers. So I don't feel like I got more, per se, like prolific. I wouldn't call it prolific. It was very productive. I wouldn't call it prolific. But the peppers that came off were huge, much bigger than any pepper that I've grown, you know, otherwise. And no disease, and they were absolutely beautiful. So it will definitely be in my garden. Now, for whatever reason, the yellow didn't produce as well. I'll probably still try it, but definitely the other ones I will buy. And again, the seeds are more pricey because it's a greenhouse hybrid variety specifically for the greenhouse. So they're definitely more pricey, but it was definitely worth it. Definitely worth it. The other thing is I did the Carmen pepper, which was also a new one to me. It did not do anything at all. And I don't even know that if I have some more seeds, then I'll try it again. If I don't have any more, I'm probably not going to buy it. Like, it didn't do anything. Like, I think I got 1 pepper. Like, it did nothing. I don't know why. Don't even have time to research it. So if I have more seeds, I'll try it again. If not, I'm not going to even worry about it. I did your traditional, you know, bell peppers. I did plenty of those outside. All of those pretty much did fine. I also did habaneros. Habaneros was very, very, very prolific. More than I could even use or eat. Cause I have them in my freezer. And I'll make some I want to make this peach habanero hot sauce. Still on my list, haven't made it yet. But other than that, I don't usually use them in my cooking. It's a little bit too spicy for me. But I grow them, you know, for my brother. He loves them. And then I sold some. But I didn't sell a ton. So, you know, one of those things. So that's how the peppers went. Now let's move on to tomatoes. Tomatoes, I did a beefsteak that went very well. Overall, I had a fantastic tomato year. And for those who are here with me, you know that the summer started off really scary because I had a huge aphid infestation on my tomatoes at the very beginning of the summer in like the first part of June, like huge aphid infestation. I thought I was not gonna have any tomatoes, but thankfully they recovered with a lot of prayer and a lot of, fertilizing and insect remediation and all that. And I did a video on what I did and what I used and all that if you're interested. But my tomato, I had a great tomato year. I would call it a bumper crop tomato year. I have harvested so many tomatoes. I have sold many tomatoes. I have given away many tomatoes. And even at the recording of this video last night, my husband brought in a whole basket of tomatoes. Like, I still have tomatoes on my counter covered. And I probably have at least 15 freezer gallon bags in my freezer. Tons and tons of tomatoes. So the tomatoes that did really well and that I will always have, Amish paste is a winner. If you have not grown that one, that is a paste tomato, so it's great for making sauce. It did extremely well. It did well last year. It was my first time. I will do even more of those. It was fantastic. Roma, for the first time for me, did extremely well. I did Roma in a second succession in my backyard. It did extremely well. So that's a great paste tomato for sauces. The large red cherry, winner, great. I did Matt's wild cherry. If you've been here, you know I did not like the Matt's wild cherry. The tomatoes were extremely small, and it grows really wild, like its name. So I ended up ripping out all those plants. I didn't like it. I wasn't a big fan of it. Another new tomato that I tried this year was the Sakura. It's a hybrid cherry tomato. Fantastic. It will be on the list from here on out. Sakura, which is like I said, a cherry tomato. The Sun Gold is one that I love. It did not do as great this year as it has in years past. The majority of them were outside. I did not have any in the tunnel. And yeah, I think where they were had a lot of standing water. They did okay. I did not tend to them as much, but they'll be on the list again. I think that was more user than the tomato. I did Big Beef Plus, I did Paul Robeson, and I did Cherokee Purple. Those all did well. My Cherokee Purple actually did the best that it's ever done. I never would call it prolific. I would say mildly productive on the Cherokee Purple, but great flavor. It's an heirloom, great flavor. And it looked like I did not have a lot of disease on it, which was a blessing. So it had like the cracked circular lines at the top. So to me, it's never a pretty tomato. To me, like where it's smooth and looks gorgeous, but it looks better than it ever has before. So I will keep it because the flavor is like top notch on a Cherokee Purple. You can't go wrong with that. And I did Paul Robeson for the first time and it did okay. Another new one that I tried this year was Dr. Witchy's. On the list from here on out. Now, it wasn't as productive towards the end of the summer. I don't know why. It was very productive in the beginning of the summer. It's this pretty like orange yellow tomato. It looks beautiful. Absolutely. And it tastes wonderful. But for whatever reason, like after, I would say like the first part of August, I didn't get any more. Like it didn't do much of anything else. Not sure why. I don't care. I'm gonna plant some more because if I can get them in June and July, and that's it, so be it. It was fantastic. Dr. Witchy's, add it to your list if you never tried it before. Another new one that I tried was Lemon Boy Plus. It was not nearly as productive. It produced very little, but the little that it did produce is a pretty, and it's a hybrid, so I'm not sure why it didn't produce a lot, but the little that it did produce is a very pretty tomato. It's low acid, and it has a good flavor. So I am gonna try that again next year. That's the Lemon Boy Plus. And then let's see what else is on my list. The other new one that I tried that is a slicing tomato. This is also a greenhouse variety for a slicing tomato. It's called the Rebelski. It is pricey. Again, these greenhouse specific varieties are gonna be, I wanna say the Rebelski is probably, it's like $15 or $20 a packet of seeds, and maybe you get 50 seeds, maybe 25, I don't know. So it is pricey. I'm gonna tell you that up front. But what I'm also gonna tell y'all is that it produced a ton. So if it was $20 a seed packet, I don't even know, I got so many tomatoes, and they were all, for them, I would say 95% of them were perfect. No blemishes, no disease, no cracks, no anything. Perfect, uniform size, slicing tomato, the Rebelski. So again, remember I told you guys at the beginning of the season that I was, investing and spending more on these greenhouse varieties. And I told you, I was like, look, don't follow me if you don't want to, spend the money, but watch and see if I like it first, and then you can follow me. So I'm gonna tell you now. So if you have a hot tunnel or a greenhouse and you want to try those, I would say try you a couple, knowing that it's gonna be more than $4 a pack of seeds, but the production, excellent. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So I'm very proud of my tomatoes. So like to recap, Dr. Witchy's, Sakura, the greenhouse variety peppers, the greenhouse tomatoes, Rebelski, Cherokee People, like all of those will be in my garden again. I can't think of, like the Paul Robeson, if I still have seeds, I'll do that. I don't know that I'll go buy seeds for that. It was okay. The Big Beef Plus were good. The beefsteak were good. So overall, I can't think of the only one that I won't do again is that Matt's Wild Cherry. And if I have seeds of those, I'm just gonna give those away. Like, I'm not doing that anymore. It was too wild and I didn't like it. So that is how it went on tomato season. Now let's talk about the last section, which is miscellaneous produce. So all the stuff that's not tomatoes and peppers and things like that. So let's talk about cucumbers. And y'all, I'm sorry, this is a longer video, so hopefully you got you some tea, some coffee, some juice, some drink, something. Or maybe you're walking around the house listening to this. But on cucumbers, remember I did a new cucumber variety called the Katrina, which is also another hybrid and a greenhouse variety. When I say prolific, I mean prolific. Now, at the beginning of the summer, for those that were here, I was growing the Katrina, and I was a little concerned because I felt like it was not staying as fresh as long as it needed to. So like it would like go bad in like 2 or 3 days. That happened in the first beginning, and I don't know what happened. I'm trying to remember, did I buy more seeds? I don't think I did. I don't remember. But I don't know, maybe it was prayer. But they started to last longer. Extremely prolific. I had probably 10 plants in the tunnel, and I was harvesting at least 60 cucumbers a week, at least. Way too many. Like, I thought the cucumbers would be a great seller. They sold okay, but it was not the #1 seller. I just thought that people would just buy cucumbers and cucumbers. So I had tons. I've done pickles, I've done relish, I have given them away, I have sold them, but we had cucumbers we were out of town for a week. When we came back, there were 100 cucumbers literally that we had to throw away because they had been sitting, because with cucumbers, there's not really a way to preserve them unless you're gonna do pickles or relish or something like that. You can't put them in the freezer. They are only gonna last so long. So that's one of the disadvantages of having a lot of cucumbers, that if you can't move them, can't eat them, it's hard to keep them around. Anyway, it was very prolific. Then I did cucumbers in the back of my house for a second succession. I did the straight 8 and I did the pickling cucumber. Those did great. Straight 8 was new to me. It did wonderful. I will add that to my list. The Katrina I will do again. I may just do less of them, but very prolific, very good cucumber. Let's talk about okra. Y'all, my okra did, I guess, as best as it could with a gardener that didn't pay no attention to it. Y'all, I cannot keep up with the okra. The last 2 years, and it's so funny because this morning I cooked dinner early. And one of the things is that I did some roasted okra that I got out of the freezer from my garden last year. Trying to, move some stuff out. And so I had a really good okra year last year, and I was more on top of it, and we ate a lot of it fresh, and I preserved some, which is why I had some to pull out this morning to cook. This year, y'all, no, I have not. I don't have any okra to store. I did not store any okra. I haven't cooked any okra. I just could not keep up with the okra plants. It is so prolific when it's producing. You have to pick it every day. And because of the amount of space and the amount of stuff I was growing and the limited time I had, I just didn't have time. When I would go out there, if I saw tomatoes, I'm going for the tomatoes and peppers first. The okra was like secondary, and secondary never came. So it wasn't necessarily the okra's fault. It was the gardener's fault. And it's just too high maintenance. Okra is like I keep telling y'all, she like a diva. She like, come get me now, right now. Because if you don't, I'm going to grow big, and tomorrow you're not going to be able to eat me. So if you don't come get me now, you're not going to get me. And I can't deal. Then, y'all, I tried to make it with okra, a few weeks ago and say, you know what? Things are slowing down on the other front. Okra, I'm going to pay attention to you. If you will, and I plucked everything off to encourage you to put on more stuff. I was like, if you will produce, then I'm going to do my part and pick you. I ain't done nothing, y'all. The okra, it just took up space. It just took up space in my garden. And I like okra, so I really hate to say that I'm not going to grow it again, but I may not. We're going to see. It's question mark. Question mark. We're going to see how I'm feeling next spring and summer. We're going to see. But as of right now, I'm thinking, I think you're just a waste of my garden because I ain't going to pick you. The time. I don't know, the time. So, okra is to be determined. Okay, when it came to squash and eggplant, horrible, y'all. Eggplant, I have not been able to grow successfully in my 3 years. I think this year, I didn't get any eggplant. Last year, I might have gotten 2 or 3. The year before that, maybe 5 or 6. So, and part of it's okay because I don't love eggplant. I only like eggplant parmesan. I only like it fried. There's not too many things you can do with it. I don't know how to preserve it. So it's not that big of a deal. But I was growing it more this year to see if I could sell it. But I did not produce any at all. I'm going to try again next year because it is a summer favorite. And people did ask me about eggplants. I'm going to try it again and we'll see what happens. And we'll do some different things. I got a couple of different things I'm going to try. But it did not go well. My squash, first year ever, did not have good squash luck at all. And I've grown squash really well the past 2 years. So that just goes to show you that when you have an abundance of something, be thankful, preserve it, save it. Because I had squash in my freezer from last summer. I actually just got rid of the last bag from last summer. I don't have any in my freezer from this summer, so we're not going to be eating squash until next summer, which is fun because we like it. We don't love it. It's not one of those things that we absolutely love, but I did miss having fresh summer squash. I think I had it at the beginning of the summer. Maybe I probably cooked, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5, and that's it. I sold maybe 10, but that's really all I got. And I did a second succession and a third succession of squash. The squash that's out there now is all dark yellow. It's small. It doesn't look good. I don't know what happened. But no, it was not a good squash year, and squash has always been easy for me to grow. So again, it's one of those things as a gardener, and I say this to encourage you, is that sometimes you don't have an answer for why something didn't go well. You don't have an answer. And again, just think about if this is my first year doing squash. I may be thinking I can't grow squash, but because I know I've done it well the other 2 times, then I will try it again next year because it's something that I like and I know my customers would like. So yeah, I don't know what happened. When it came to zucchini was like my #1 seller. I did not have enough of it. So I did not plant enough of it. And when I did the second and third succession, they did not do well. The first one did okay, but it was not great. Everything that I had, I sold and did not have enough at all. And it just didn't grow prolific and well. When I tried the second and third time, it didn't do as well. Again, it could have been that the row that they were in, remember I was telling you I was having some standing water issues in an area, in one or two areas in my in-ground garden. They were in that row. So that could have been it. I also, again, dealt with the squash bugs, which is why I had planned the second and the third succession, but it wasn't a great year when it comes to squash and zucchini and eggplant. But we will try all three of those things again next year because I like the squash and the zucchini, and I think the other ones will be great to be to sell. So that's just the way it goes. So I think that's pretty much that hits most of the things. Oh, corn. Because, okay, there was some stuff that I didn't have on my list because I didn't start as seed. I did this direct sown. So corn was one. It didn't do well this year. I think it was 5 in each row. So I didn't do a ton because the year before I took up a lot of garden space with corn and it did well, except the gardener didn't pick it in time. So this year I did not want to take up as much space because I was dedicating more space to tomatoes and peppers. So I didn't dedicate as much space, but the space I did dedicate, it just did okay. So I don't think I had enough there to pollinate because some of it didn't even pollinate. And then when I picked it, it was already too far gone. So I gotta find the sweet spot because it's like, and then I'm gonna have to play around with my timing of the corn. So I may do it a little bit later, a couple of weeks later than I did before, because when I've been planting it, like I go out there 1 week and it's not ready. And then that next week I'm out of town because we have something that's the same time every summer. And then when I come back after that, it's like it's too far gone. So it's like it's getting ready in that time that I'm always gone. So if that's gonna be the case, I need to back it up or push it back. And maybe I'll dedicate a little bit more space because I love corn and I want to have enough corn to preserve. I have not been successful with that yet. I can't even hardly produce something for me to eat. But I love corn and I don't buy it because most of the stuff in the store is GMO and it does not make me feel good. So I'm probably going to try corn again. Like I really want to get corn. So we'll talk about that again next spring and summer. The other thing that we did was we did a dedicated watermelon patch. So we had a 100-foot row of watermelons and cantaloupe. My cantaloupe, bad. No cantaloupe this year. Luckily, I had a friend who she grew some cantaloupe and she shared 2 with me that were so good. So at least I got a taste of melons this summer. They were so good, but out of my own garden, they did grow, which is progress from the previous years. So they grew, they were on the vine. When I cut them open, they don't taste good or they were too ripe. No, they were underripe. And I still got like 3 out there growing, but they are really, really small and they don't look good. So I think I'm gonna try again next year because I like cantaloupe. So I'm gonna try again. It tastes much better than what's in the store. The watermelons did fantastic. So we did Sugar Baby, Strawberry, Crimson, and Jubilee. The strawberry by far was the winner. My customers loved it. We loved it. We're gonna grow more of it. So Strawberry Watermelon is by Baker Creek. Excellent, fantastic. If you've never grown it, put it on your list for next year. Absolutely. So I think that was pretty much it in terms of all the stuff that we grew and what went well. So overall, if I just had to give a overall recap, it was a great summer. I cannot complain at all. There were plenty of things that I tried to grow that did not go well. And I want to let you know that that happens as a gardener. No matter how good you are, no matter how new you are, no matter how seasoned you are, there's going to be some stuff in a particular season that just don't go well. It could be stuff that you planted before that was great. It could be something that you tried for 4 times and it's not great. That is the way it goes. If it's something that you love, if it's something that your family loves, don't give up. Do more research, plant in a different spot, try a different seed, try it at a different time, like do whatever, but don't give up, especially if it's something that you like. Now, if it's something that you're like, I don't know, you may make a decision to not grow it again, or maybe take a pause or whatever, but that's the beauty. when it's your garden. But overall, it was a great summer. I feel so blessed, so grateful for the abundance that we had. My freezers are full. Oh, y'all ain't talking about my purple whole peas. See, it wasn't on my paper because this was the stuff I started seeds on. The purple whole peas was a direct sown. My purple whole peas did amazing, did fantastic. My second year growing them, they did great last year. They did great this year. I got more to go out there and pick today, and my freezers are full of them. So that, if you like peas, purple whole peas are very prolific, especially, I mean, they love heat. So I'm in the South, so I'm in a perfect environment. Wonderful. They will always be in my garden. And I did half of a row, and that's enough for me because that's a lot of shelling and a lot of picking. I will ask this. If you know of a pea sheller that's automatic, I've been looking, but I ain't finding nothing. Let me know if you have a referral or a pea sheller that you love, that you've used, that you use, that you like. Please send me a link. My email address is in the description. Please send me a link or put it in the comments and let me know of a pea sheller that you like, because I want to invest and get one for next year. Because this shelling peas, taking 3 and 4 hours, after a while, it ain't relaxing no more. After a while, you just like, I really like these peas, but is there another way? So overall, the summer was great. We're turning our attention towards the fall and getting all things ready for the fall garden. We're going to keep it going. We're growing food 365 days a year, 7 days a week. So, but I'm very thankful. I would love to know how your summer gardens did. I would encourage you to, if nothing else, jot down like a recap. Celebrate your wins. Celebrate what did it, because you may say, well, my year wasn't good. Nothing grew. Something grew. Something did. You had some progress on something. Celebrate your wins. And I want to know what went well for you. If there is a particular crop that went really well for you and I didn't mention it, put it down below. Share it so I can add it to my list for next year, right? And others can see it in the comments and we can just all share what went good, what went bad. I hope that this was helpful. Let me know if you like this recap and you want me to keep doing that. And then maybe I'll do one for the fall and winter when that's over, because I haven't done it for that. I only did it for the summer. So let me know if this is helpful. I know it was a little bit longer than my normal video, but I wanted to just share how things went. And now we can officially turn our eyes towards the fall and winter gardening season. Even though this is a summer recap, I'm still harvesting summer stuff. My counter right now has tons of peppers on it and tons of tomatoes, and I'm actually about to go out here and change clothes and harvest me some purple whole peas yet again. So with my mouth, it's the end of the summer recap, but in reality, we still got some summer outside in the garden, although we are really trying to transition towards fall. So I hope this encourages you and inspires you to keep going, knowing that there's another gardener on the other side of the world in Tennessee that's cheering you on. Remember, gardening is a journey. Let's grow together. I'll see you next time, friend.